Welcome to the IDC TechTalk Podcast. My name is Miles Dawson, I'm your host today. I run the emerging vendor team here at IDC UK. Here we will be connecting with leading analysts talking about topics and issues affecting the IT industry today, providing some useful insights and predictions that will help you achieve your business goals. This week we are joined by Margaret Adam. Hello Margaret.
Hi Miles.
Margaret is the Programme Director for European Channels and Alliances, but I'm sure she can give herself a better introduction than I can. So Margaret, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, great, thanks Miles. So long-term IDC, I've been with IDC going on 9 years now, had various roles within IDC, used to head up the services practice in the Middle East and Africa. I was part of our consulting team. And prior to joining IDC, actually worked in a number of channel functions at a vendor where I managed distribution channels. I've also been in an SI. I've been in an ASP as it was in those days, now more commonly known as a hoster or cloud service provider, and have performed various roles within the channel. So really good fit for me coming into an analyst role, which looks at really my heartland, which is the channel.
Fantastic. That actually might be a good place to start, is asking why IDC decided to have a dedicated program specifically for channels and alliances here in Europe.
Yeah, great. So IDC has always had a program worldwide. Well, they have for the last 7 to 8 years. And within Europe, we've always done channels research, but it's always been part of kind of different technology practices. And we recognize, given the kind of questions that we were giving, the huge changes that we're seeing in the industry and the critical importance of getting channel strategy right, that we needed to have dedicated research practice to develop some thought leadership around topics such as channel transformation, the new types of channels that are entering the market, the impact of something like cloud, on channel business models, and really the roles that the different types of partners will play. And so we recognize that, started it about 18 months ago, and really I think we made the right decision. It's been a very fast growing area for us, and certainly I think a very relevant and very pertinent area of interest for our customers.
Absolutely. So that's interesting. You mentioned the impact of cloud. I mean, cloud kind of touches everything that we do. At least it's one of our main pillars here at IDC. You talk a little bit more about how the cloud is affecting the channel, sort of particularly in the last couple of years. It'd be great to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so it's an interesting area. In the early days of cloud, many were skeptical about the role of the channel in cloud. I think many channel partners actually feared it. They saw it had the potential to completely disintermediate them out of it and put their business at risk. And so there was a huge amount of resistance from the channel for cloud. Actually, what we're seeing is the reverse is true. In fact, in our latest predictions, we actually predict that by 2020, 70% of channel partners or cloud service provider revenue will be touched by channel partners, whether that's a traditional channel partner or a cloud service broker. So a huge amount of cloud revenue actually flowing through the channel. And that's down to a number of reasons. I think, first of all, I think cloud vendors are recognizing that if they want to be able to scale on a global, in a global way to a broad segment of the market, they need a channel. Very difficult to do it on your own, even in the as a service world. Customers' usage of cloud is becoming a lot more complex. They're using multiple products. And that requires integration, different services, unified billing, which a single vendor can't do. So the channel really starts to play that integrator role, combining different cloud solutions to create real customer value. And then I think thirdly is, I touched on it earlier, just the scale, right? It's impossible for a single company to touch every market, every customer size, every segment. So the channel play a pretty critical role in that. So to answer your question briefly, channel play a pretty critical role, but not all of the channel are getting that right yet.
It'd be great to hear then, other than cloud, what's the other big themes and predictions that you've got for 2017 coming forward?
Yes, I think obvious one would be digital transformation, and this is an interesting round. So what we're seeing are kind of your services-led channel partners really start to hang their hats on digital transformation. really seeing their role to provide consulting services, to integrate, to co-develop, to co-innovate, seeing this huge demand from their customers, so also seeing it as a way to improve their strategic importance and relevance to their customers. So those services companies really are building, digital transformation practices and restructuring themselves as digital players. The more products-oriented channel partners recognize the demand, but are really struggling to articulate their value proposition in that. So a little bit harder for them to define what their role would be in broader digital transformation. I think another big talking point, and it's not unrelated, is the emergence of new types of companies which are starting to compete in the traditional channel space. So you see digital agencies, for example, starting to offer IT solutions and influencing IT decisions through some of their engagement at a CMO level, and really start to become a channel in themselves. We're seeing the SIs, the systems integrators, start to create digital SIs, which function a lot like digital agencies, but with the systems integration back end behind it. And they're starting to really kind of blur the borders between those partners. The startups are really interesting. They're often in the driving seats of digital transformation because their business model supports it. They have the tech, but they are also able to go on site to a customer, to co-develop, to put people on a customer side to do a proof of concept, because it's good for them. It's how they create IP. Whereas a traditional channel partner would battle to justify the cost of putting a field engineer at a customer site with no guarantee of business. So the startups are really starting to play a pretty critical role, and often in the driving seat of a lot of these bigger transformative engagements. And then you get industry cloud platforms. So, a good example of this would be GE's Predix or Siemens MindSphere. Now, what's interesting about these industry cloud platforms is arguably GE and Siemens in those examples become service providers in their own right, so in a way kind of a channel. But at the same time, they're creating these whole ecosystems around these industry cloud platforms. So you have OEMs, equipment manufacturers, ISVs, services companies, all developing and delivering services and solutions and IP around those industry cloud platforms. So it becomes this kind of open but really structured ecosystem. So that's a new kind of channel environment as well. And then you get, the distributors becoming, in some cases, brokers, in many cases, marketplaces for cloud. You see the emergence of cloud service brokers. So a good example of this is a company called Maestrona, who do really, really interesting things in creating these brokerage platforms to combine all sorts of cloud services. So they become a new type of channel as well. So, and I think, as this momentum continues, as digital transformation, really starts to accelerate, as we see, what we call our innovation accelerators, so AI, cognitive, robotics, next-gen security, all this really new, cool stuff, it's going to result in new types of partners coming into that ecosystem. So, we're seeing a lot of change in how that channel is made up. In fact, our predictions that we did very recently around channels and alliances, we actually said that by 2018, so that's just a year, close on a year away, at least 30% of the channel will look different to how we see it today. So it won't exist in the form that we know it today.
Right, so I suppose my last question would be, if I had to challenge you to give one piece of advice for 2017, what would it be?
Who am I giving the advice to? To a vendor or to a partner?
Let's say from a vendor perspective.
Yes, I think my advice would be to really segment your channel very carefully. And that's not by partner type, as we've always done. We've seen the kind of borders between different partners start to blur. I spoke about those new kind of partners coming into the ecosystem. So it's all a bit messy. So I would prioritize segmenting those partners on not only what they've done with you in the past, but the kind of investments they're making for the future. Because as I said earlier, we're going to see this kind of division of the haves and the have-nots. So it's very important for you as a vendor to be prioritizing those partners that are going to be the haves. And whatever investment you're making in your channel, It's about prioritizing investments into those partners who are building future-ready businesses. My advice for the channel is look at what other companies have done. I think there's a lot of change. It's hard to remain profitable, but there's a lot of companies that have done it. We've personally done a lot of case studies on partners that are profitable and have made these transitions profitably. So, there's lessons to be learned, I guess. So don't, go in with your eyes open. There's no need to go through this as an early adopter, I guess. Lessons to be learned.
Well, thank you very much, Margaret.
Miles, absolute pleasure. Thank you.
And thank you all very much for listening. Please join us next time where we'll be discussing another topic affecting the IT industry. In the meanwhile, if you'd like to learn more about this topic and more, feel free to follow us on the Twitter handle at IDC_EMEA. You can also follow Margaret as well. What's your Twitter handle?
Madam_IDC.
Madam_IDC, there we go. And you can also follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn and YouTube. Just search us on there under IDC. So thank you very much and goodbye.
Bye-bye.